Hello. Just from the recent video, really, I was like, out of the topic a little bit, but now I come back to stay in the topic now. So, I just would like to say, as to Boston, comparison to any other city that I've been to in the US. So first of all, start with somewhere that closest, which is there's two options. Start with Portland, Maine, or New York. I started with Portland, Maine because that's the first one that I've been to. So Portland, Maine, basically is a smaller size city. It's in Portland in it's in Maine. It's the northernmost region in the eastern coast of the country. It's peaceful, and I only been there like just for like not really, not even a day, like half a day probably. So but yeah, it just felt like a little bit remind me of there's not, Wellington has a lot of foot traffic, but here is a little bit empty in a way. But small city kind of feeling anyway. So yeah. The next one is New York in. Oh, you know what? Everybody heard this name, New York, Manhattan. It speaks for itself now, and so it's a mega city, very very hectic, super busy. I will not live there. Like, I'm being serious. I did not like that wife of really busy, really uh, a lot of people. I just didn't really like somewhere that they're surrounded by people. Personally, I don't like it. I like somewhere that there's something happen, but not something in terms of that people are happening over there. I mean by like, I just didn't like somewhere that said there's a lot of people. That's what it is. And yeah, but it's a so there's a recent news about the Asian hate crime and stuff like that. I don't know, if it's gonna feel safe, or I just only been there again like half a day. I don't even say there. So yeah. All right, move on to Niagara Falls in New York. Um yeah. So it's a touristy sort of, the town on the border of Canada really, and it shared the same name, but that was in Niagara Falls in Ontario. This one it will connect it to to New York State by the bridge, and so yeah, it pretty much is just it's beautiful in a way. I mean, I pretty like it, and it was sort of, but it's a tourist place kind of thing. It's not somewhere that you would live there for long term. I think people know what I mean. But yeah, it's great to go visit there, during sort of like maybe summer or early autumn, or spring, whatever time suits you. I haven't been there on winter, but I saw the picture. It was like the fall was actually frozen, so probably not the best time to go there. But anyway, all right. So the next one, this is the first city that I stay overnight, which is Chicago, in Illinois. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, all right. Okay, let's start with Chicago first. So Chicago in Illinois, I really like Chicago instead of, I don't like New York, but I think I prefer Chicago a lot better. It sort of it got that vibe which is the New York has of the, a big city kind of feeling, but it's also less hectic, less more space in between people. I mean, it felt as it wasn't too, but that day was like -10, so people probably didn't want to float outside because it's just way too cold. It's really cold, and that day was like really windy too, by the way. I mean, like they say Chicago is a windy city, but when I check it on the internet, the name of that windy city is actually come from that the city was rapidly grow, not because of the actual wind gust that the city received per year, but it's just that day that it happened to be windy. That's all. But yeah, there's not much place to travel. It's just a city. People just go there to work and stay and leave, that sort of thing. And the public transport is really good over there. it's exactly almost the same as, as good as New York, really. That's how I felt anyway. And it's it's really sprawling, a little bit like Los Angeles, but it has that combination between New York and, like mega tall building, and also like sprawl out of the urban area neither. And yeah, great place to visit. Go and, check it out yourself and see if you like it. So yes, move on to the next one is Miami in Florida. This tropical, you know, city on the south coast of the country. Technically, I think it's the it is a Key West, but that's not on the mainland. It's connected by the bridge to the state of Florida. But yeah, I mean, it was actually so, but this one is in mainland really, and it's a tropical. So, if you imagine going to Singapore, going to Thailand, going to somewhere tropical, that's kind of feeling. So for me, it reminds me a little bit of Singapore version of, of America. It's a big city as well, and there's people go there for a beach. People seem to be a little bit more sort of relaxed and, you know tropical southern people, really. I don't know how to explain that. It's there's a lot of the Latino, that's for sure. There's not much Asian, that's for sure. To have the yeah, but I mean, again, there's always an opportunity there, because it's a combination between touristy kind of town, which they has a beach, and then, basically it bring the people who are basically escape the cold from the north to the south. And so the growing rate of the city is very high per year. And also, it's there's probably a jobs over there, like, so a lot of tall construction building it was really modern as well, as comparison to Boston. Yeah, but that's is not the most city that I love it in the US. Okay, move on to another side, the country. Let's start with San Diego in California. So San Diego, again, it had that feeling of Miami a little bit, but Miami is pretty much like there's no terrain. It's pretty much flat, and it built on a flat land. Some a little bit of, I'm not sure if there's a wetland, but probably. But anyway, California itself and San Diego, it's a little bit hilly, but it's not the it seems as I used to not, I would not say as like as much as San Francisco, that kind of visible. So the central city is mainly kind of on the flat land, with a little bit of the terrain, but it wasn't really bothering me too much. And then it was warm, but it wasn't too warm. It's just a perfect climate. It's like 20 degrees Celsius. You know, what's 20 degrees Celsius? That probably something like 68 Fahrenheit or something like that. Around those rank. And it was a little bit. It's beautiful in a way, but I mean, it wasn't something that it's really my favorite, but I totally love it. People are really friendly. People seem to be really helpful, and then very, I guess, people are not afraid of approaching you in the public. even though you don't know them. But in Boston, you never approach like a stranger unless you really need help, and that's the difference. And I saw one lady in the airport. She probably worked there. She's come up to me and then say to me like, oh, do you know what, after you pass the airport baggage check, then basically there's a water fountain that you could fill it out. And you would never ever have that kind of advice, even just a small thing in Boston. It never happened. It doesn't happen anywhere neither. Obviously not in New York, obviously not in Portland in Maine, Miami, Florida, or whatever that is. The one which has come quite close is Chicago though. It sounds weird because it's really big city, but people are really friendly over there too in a way. And then I had advice from a guy that he worked in just about the globes really, CBS. And that honesty of the sort of like the generosity of the people. It's in a big city. Yeah, it's just great. So yep. And then the next one is Portland in Oregon. Very, very long video, by the way. I'm trying to keep my energy going. I'll try to. So Portland in Oregon, when I been to, I was like, you know what? This is the city that I'm going to move to. It's not too I kind of like the person that I don't really like somewhat of the heat, like too much of the not too hot but not too cold as well. And I mean, like, because I used to live in New Zealand for 10 years. Obviously I would looking for something that is similar to that, somewhere that I basically feel comfortable with. And so yes, it's really answered that question. But here's the thing though, there is not much of the Asian there. And I don't use this as a something to consider when moving somewhere. But when these kind of like Asian sort of openness to Asian really, because some places in America, they basically they're still close-minded about being Asian in their community and stuff like that. And Boston, there's a lot of Asians, so that's the reason why people are accepted toward it. And so the mayor, like Boston mayor, is even Asian herself. And so that's already speak a lot for itself really about the city and how the being Asian here, you don't have to be, you can be free and you can be yourself. But but like what we're saying is like Portland, the people are nice though. They're not like bad people. But it's just that because there's not much Asian just yet, I felt as into I don't know. I mean, you go there yourself and you understand what I'm trying to say. But it's a inland city. And then it's sort of I mean, the population is around 2 million, and in San Diego it's around, I can't remember exactly, probably I trying to think. Well, it's a city, but it does feel a little bit like a big town rather than a city in a way. I don't know. That's how I felt. The I try to think of something to compare with. Have you been to like UK, like in Great Britain? It kind of it had something like that. But in terms of the street are not so widely open. And then but the difference is that in Great Britain, they're quite sort of, they are protect the heritage building though. in Portland, in Oregon, it's just like there's a skyscraper visible, but it wasn't that have that big city feel still for some reason. And yeah, I mean, I again, I might have to spend a little bit more time there, but it wasn't something I don't mind living there, but and yeah, it's just not the my first pick option really. Yeah, and so move on to the another city is the last one is Seattle in Washington. This answer everything of what I need. It's an ocean city. It's a coastal city. It had that the similarity with Vancouver in British Columbia, but with the sort of like here's the interesting thing about America. It's such a big city, and you go to like to northwest, you go to southwest, you go to northeast, you go to southeast, you go to it's all different sort of like feeling. It felt part of it because of the geography, because of the climate, because of the people, but it's a noticeably really different. Chicago though it aimed toward a little bit like a east side, kind of feel, so not so much like a west. So back in the history again, when Great Britain come to colonize America, they start with the east and then they make their way into the west. So technically on the west it used to be colonized by the Spanish back in the history. And so with the talking in terms of public transport, in terms of the density and everything, it just seems a little bit more developed in the east compared to the west. Like for me anyway, like like just from my opinion, except San Francisco in California, that's like that's the it has it but okay, I'll leave it for that. So Seattle, that yeah, it's a beautiful city, and it's I guess uh, it has this, it's a modern as well, like pretty much like just like any western part of the country. And Boston has a little bit of the, it's more historical. It's sort of like into what European side of it. And yeah, that's what it is. And so before I end up this video, I was gonna say that 5 years ago, that's my first time that I've been to US. I've been in San Francisco and also Los Angeles. So San Fran is a big city. It's purely I mean, it's a great city. I mean, it's nice. It's beautiful and everything. Yeah, and all the Chinatown, it was so big. Like, I mean, I was so surprised that I go there. It's just like it felt like Hong Kong. Like seriously, I thought like am I even in America, because the Chinatown itself, it's so it just really like China. It was like I could not even imagine how the Asian felt that it gave it to that particular area of the city. It's just totally amazing. So you don't even need to travel to Asia. Just go to Chinatown, San Francisco, and you already know what Asia look like already. So don't need to fly like 11 hour or whatever to Asia, and just go to San Fran and what it's like there. That yeah, that kind of thing. And Los Angeles though, it's a sprawl out city, so you need a car to well, technically, I mean, if you just go short visit, it's you probably, it's the transportation is, it's not the base there. And I mean, I was just like basically I really like it because that's like my first time that I've been to the US, so it's so much different from New Zealand from where I used to live. And Santa Monica is really beautiful. It's just it was gorgeous. It was like it was I could not explain how the feeling that I was like saw it, and my first time it was this pretty, and Malibu and stuff like that. It was just something that is just second to none. It's the most prettiest place in the whole world. I was thought at that time, but it's probably still pretty now, like as of like right now. And yeah, um, that's just about it. That's my opinion, and I'll end it now and hope. Not sure if this helped at all. Probably not. Probably do a little bit, but listen to a lot of people, and you kind of understand it. People when you listen to them, and yeah. But anyway, go there yourself, and that's your own opinion. You the best person to speak out of yourself, not any other. So trust yourself and trust how you feel inside. All right. Good luck. Bye.